Built to close your week strong and start the next one smarter. Here's what you missed from this week's Friday Focus on KGCI Real Estate on Air.
Welcome, everybody. Another episode of Elite Mastermind, a session where we dig deep into certain areas of your real estate business or your entrepreneurial business in the real estate space to help you to almost elevate your business to the next level. Now, in today's session, really what I want to talk about is something that is actually quite important. Why? Well, it's using social media for growth. You see, if we reflect back 15 to 20 years ago, print media was the actual media that was used for growth. You had these magazines, prints, newspapers, flyers, billboards, everything that was on a print media was the number one choice, came at a huge, huge expense. However, suddenly the digital age came about, and suddenly it was like, well, print media is too expensive. I can actually do the same at a tenth of the cost, but I get a lot more results out of it. So today, I want to start talking about using social media to grow your business and really what works on the Meta platform, which is Facebook, what works on YouTube. So that'll be something that we're going to discuss, and then going to something that, well, for some people, they've been trying it and using it in such a great way, is TikTok. So let's have a look at all these different social media options to actually help you. Now, I actually went and did a bit of research, and there was a quote that actually jumped out, which really got me going thinking, because this is something that really you need to take notice of. You see, this is the quote. We're living in a time where a 15-second video can build a brand faster than a decade of networking. The question is, if it isn't social media that's working, what is? Well, you see that question that came in, if it isn't social media that's working, what is? And the reason why they ended with that particular saying and the rest of the actual quote that came out is you may be doing it incorrectly. So a 15-second video that could go viral, that could really build your awareness right up to that next level, could actually elevate your business right out of the park. So the big question comes in. Should I be using Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram? Should I be using YouTube? Or should I be using TikTok? Well, that is going to be something that I want to actually unwrap for you today. And there are a couple of things just to highlight. This can lead you down a rabbit hole that can burn up your time. You see, when we start looking at doing anything on social media platforms, ultimately, we look at perfection. And that's obviously one of these things that's going to run you down that particular rabbit hole, because perfection actually equals procrastination. You will spend so much time making it perfect, but you never actually go and push that button to share it or to upload it. So you've actually got to remain in your authentic way. And that is so important when you're actually going through social media, is there is no such thing as perfection. When you start adding perfection into any form of social media, you actually find that your audience looks at you and goes, it's just too perfect. It looks like an advert. And in fact, they will start to scroll past it. So it's an important feature. When you're starting to look at social media, it's your authentic self. Don't worry if your hair's not done. Don't worry if you don't have makeup on. Just work with some basic principles and be your authentic self. I remember years ago standing outside of a property that I had on show. And the show day was actually starting at 2:00. And this was at around about 3:00. I was 1 hour into the show day. I did not even have a single person come into that property. And I remember feeling like, man, I've just wasted my particular day. And I was feeling very down. And then I suddenly thought, you know what, I'm going to have some fun. And I popped up my phone. I went onto Facebook, onto the Meta platform, and I went live. And I just said, hey guys, I'm standing outside this house. Nobody has come to visit me. I'm surely you are looking for a property. Why don't you drive by? I gave the address and I gave the actual suburb. Why don't you drive by and just come and say hello, even if you drive past and hoot? And I did it really out of, I want to say, frustrations, because I've done a lot of work of really inviting a lot of individuals, sending out flyers, making a heap of phone calls. And in the first hour, nobody came. So I did that post, and it was about an hour into the actual session. And then I just carried on sitting. And about a half an hour later, there was a hoot outside. And I go and I look outside and I'm going, what is that? But there was no car. And I thought, okay, maybe someone was just, and next minute, there was another hoot. And then I actually went to stand outside. And ultimately, what was happening is from my social media post, I actually had people drive past and I said hoot, and they were hooting. And then something happened. Somebody stopped. They got out their car and they actually came in to the show day. And what was so amazing about that is they actually put an offer on the property. And they said to me, Stuart, if you hadn't shared your social media video, we were actually laughing because the way I'd done it, they could see the frustration on my face. They could see that this was not something that was prepped and planned. They said, but you actually just standing outside the property. It was in the area, the location. You gave some very basic details. We could see the property behind. They thought they would drive past. And ultimately, they came into that show day and they put in an offer into that particular property. Social media, there's an amazing amount of power behind it, but it was authentic. Now, for you going out there, you may not have the guts to actually go out and do it. And I say, just be authentic and do it. But how do we take social media to a purposeful level? And this is really what I want to talk to you about is when you're starting to go onto social media, start looking at it from a purposeful level. And I'm going to break it down into 3 different levels, 3 different platforms to work with. And the first platform, and please, I am no expert when it comes to all of these. I'm a person that just goes and does it. I put on those Nikes and I just do it. And ultimately, the outcome, whether I like it or not, you know what? It actually has some great responses outside. So let's actually start with Meta. Now, just to clarify, Meta owns the 3 big platforms that we actually use in our particular industry. It owns, obviously, Facebook, which we're all familiar with. It also owns Instagram, and it also owns WhatsApp. And they can use them to integrate with each other. So when we talk about Meta, we're actually talking about all 3 of them, because if you look at all 3 of those platforms, you can post something, whether it's on Facebook, where you've got your reels and stories, you've got your posts and so forth, whether it is on Instagram, where you've also got your reels and stories, etc. And WhatsApp, you've got your statuses. So you can actually use a very similar format across each one of them. But here's something that I want to share with you that really has worked. And I've actually tried this and I've seen that the results come out. I get 10 times more views and engagements when I did this compared to that. Now, you might be asking, what is this and what is that? Well, let me share with you. One of the big things that I've actually come to find when I'm doing any form of posts on Meta, and I'm using those 3 as a comparison there. When I do 3 on Meta, what's worked for me is what we refer to as short form videos. Short form videos are videos that are literally, you could say anything from 30 seconds up to about 2 minutes. And you just need to have a look at the actual platforms themselves. But there's something that was very important with these. They need to be in that vertical frame. They mustn't be something that's landscaped. When I started doing things that were landscapes, I found that the images became smaller and the engagement ultimately wasn't as high. But when I actually held, and most of it was done on my mobile device, when I held it in a portrait fashion, and I actually then just spoke into it in that portrait fashion, making it 30 seconds to 90 seconds, quick in impact, the engagement goes through the roof. And that was something that really helped to actually elevate engagement. Now, you can talk about things like, just a quick share. For instance, I did that one, which was a short, quick clip of, hey guys, I'm standing outside this property. I'm actually doing a show day. I'm actually quite bored at the moment. Nobody has come. It's an hour in. I look forward to you coming through. This is the actual address. It is a 3-bedroom in the suburb. Please come and see me. And you can even drive past and hoot. And that was actually, it was a short form video. It was live. But what was more important was it was in that vertical fashion. And the reason why that works so well is most people hold their mobile devices in a vertical fashion. So when we start looking at the level of people that are engaging with us, most of them are actually holding their phone in a vertical. Very few of us actually turn our phones sideways. And we find that more mobile viewers are more active than what's on a desktop to have all those big screens. And that comes with your meta. Now, that's the first thing that I wanted is make sure that you're doing a short form video, and you can do it about anything. You could do it about the roses in the garden if you wanted to. You could do it about the front door and how amazing it looks. You could do it about the windows, the kitchen, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the entertainment area. You could actually do these short form videos for anything. It actually doesn't make a difference. It just be authentic. That's one of the first keys that I wanted to share with you. So short form in a vertical format is so, so important when you're actually laying it out. The second is create something that actually can spark some form of engagement. Now, this was something that we had tried in our office when I was running in the office, and it was a poll. A poll which basically had two photos put next to each other with A and B underneath it, and we shared that out as a post. So what did we actually do? Well, what we did was we actually said, do you prefer, that was the question, and we had a picture of the kitchen on the left-hand side, and we had a picture of the entertainment area on the right-hand side. So it was a single image, or a single format image with two pictures next to each other with A and B. And all we said was, in the comments below, tell us A or B. And what was so amazing about that is then we would give a description of the property. And if you would like to learn more, you can click on this particular link, etc. But what this actually did was in the comments section, we would get A, B, 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 A, B, 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 and that would then just carry on going. People enjoyed just putting, whether it's an A, whether it's a B. But here's something that was key. You see, the algorithms within Meta suddenly saw this as a high engagement post. So what did Facebook or Meta do? They said, this has got high engagement. We need to make sure that we share this with as many people as possible. So ultimately, Facebook, and we did it on Facebook at that time, was actually promoting organically this particular post. We had more and more people that were going A, B, but there was also a little description. People were reading it. And what we found is on that particular listing, when we monitored the engagements of people landing and viewing that property, suddenly skyrocketed. More people were then going, hey, that's actually quite interesting. I like that kitchen. I'm going to give them an A because I prefer the kitchen over the entertainment area, but I'd like to see a bit more about the property. And the engagement went up as well as the number of people clicking on the link to actually view the property itself. So that was the second key thing that I wanted to share with you, which is, I think, is an absolutely simple way. You've already got the pictures, pop them together, put an A, put a B, put a 1, put a 2. You can do what you want and actually just put a post out there and say, hey, which do you prefer? A, the kitchen, B, the entertainment area. And if you'd like to learn more, click on this particular link or give me a shout because we can actually engage with you at the next level. And that really takes things to the next level, which is, I think, is absolutely amazing. Now, the third thing, and this is something that you've got to be very careful about. Don't make your posts look like an advert. Don't go and make your posts look like an advert, because ultimately what's going to happen is people are going to scroll past it. There are so many adverts out there. There was actually an article that was released, and the founder of Facebook has actually almost said, it seems like the algorithms are moving more away from friends to actually who's paying the most, who's actually engaging from people that you don't even know. It's losing that connectivity side of it. So be very cautious when you're actually doing any form of posts. Make sure that it does not look like an advert. Make sure it's authentic. That is absolutely key. Don't go and use high-end tools and adding such graphics that really makes it look like a marketing agency's actually done this. Make it just look natural and authentic. People actually love that. And if you can actually add it in with a video, well, it's even better. So those were my quick little tips that I want to share with you when it comes to actual Meta. Remember, Meta's being Facebook, Instagram, as well as WhatsApp. Don't forget all of those. I want to move on to the next big one, which is YouTube. And YouTube is definitely one that everybody is really, really wanting to gain huge amounts of attraction into it. You see, one thing with YouTube is you can do things like your video tours. Now, that would be in a normal landscape type of format, very professional layout. People like to see that. Why? Because we actually use the servers of YouTube to store the data, to store those particular videos so that we can then add them into all of our property portals. They normally link between the two. So YouTube has a unique type of algorithm that's based inside of it. Now, something that I actually got to learn is there are two types of algorithms within YouTube that really kicks into gear. One, and you see a similarity, is on the short form. So the short vertical type of forms, they call them shorts. And the other one is videos that are over 3 minutes. Now, it could be a 3-minute video, it could be a 3-hour video. But that 3-minute mark just happens to be a nice little sweet spot, especially if you can keep people in this particular session and watching your video for 3 minutes, which means that you need to make them extremely engaging. Now, when you're doing them as property tours, you want to make sure it has a level of class that really takes it to another level. If you're going to do something like I've tried, where you stand in front of the camera and you say, hey guys, it's so impressive, I'm actually standing at this particular property, make it fun, but make it authentic. That's going to be a very, very common way that goes through it. Now, if you're going to go do, and I would strongly suggest you do video tours of you talking through a property. Hey, I'm walking into this particular kitchen. It's amazing. Turn the camera around, show them the actual kitchen itself. It can be on a tripod, whatever the case may be. Have your voice going through this particular property. Now, this could end up being a 5 to 10 minute video of the actual property itself. But then you do something which was an absolute powerhouse for myself. Take that long format video, and there's a lot of AI softwares out there, and it breaks it down into these little shorts. These shorts are probably between 30 to 60 seconds long. And it really gives this high level of impact just for something short, something on that particular property, something that you've spoken about, and that actually gives you another level of content. Now, I remember doing this with a video that I did. The video was a 1-hour session, and nobody's going to sit for an entire hour. I saw the engagement was dropping off all the time, around about the 15-minute mark. But a lot of the real good content came in after 30 minutes. I took that particular video, I put it into an AI, broke it up into little videos between 1 minute and 2 minutes long. I got out about 20 videos out of that, very short videos, and I started to post them. And ultimately, my engagement went 10x. Why? Because people were just watching the segment that they were interested in. And ultimately, it actually leveled it up to another level. So I actually found that those videos started to go, and I don't want to use the word viral. None of my stuff has gone viral because it's very purposeful to a very selected target audience. But that engagement went higher and higher. People were going, hey, thank you for that. I didn't know that. So make sure that if you're doing something long, break it down into the small little sections. Now, there's something that is very key when you're doing anything on YouTube. We know of this little magical marker of 3 minutes. And as soon as you hit that 3 minute mark, we know that suddenly all algorithms starts to change as they're starting to go through because they can see people have got interest. However, there was something else that actually goes into any production when you're doing any form of videos. And that lies in those first 30 seconds. Those first 30 seconds needs to have some level of high impact. And some level of high impact normally starts with a statement or a question. So if you're actually watching any of these YouTube videos, you may actually find that it starts out with a statement or the question, hey, did you know? Here's a fact. Hey, what did you think about this? What if you did? You'll find that they start with something that invokes your interest. Hey, do you want to see this multi-million rand property that overlooks the ocean? You see that level that gains an interest in going, hey, I'd like to learn more. In that first 30 seconds, you need to make sure that you create something that gets people to want to listen, that they want to actually watch it even further. And you can even say something like, especially if it's a long video, you can even say something like this, hey, do you want to learn more about this particular property? Well, really make sure that you stay to the end because we've got all the juicy bits that are going to be shared there. Why? Well, now you're telling the people to watch the video to the end. And ultimately, you will find that your video engagement goes up longer and longer. What you're going to find is the more people start to watch your content, the more the algorithms of YouTube starts to share it out. And especially if you're doing it on property tours and people are enjoying those particular property tours on an ongoing basis, you will find that the next time that you post, it starts getting those engagements. I was talking with an agent that built his business on YouTube. Ultimately, what he was doing is he was just doing YouTube videos. And ultimately, from that, he created this almost audience that was in a suburb that would watch his YouTube videos that were released every single Thursday. It was a new listing. And ultimately, if he didn't have a listing, he would actually take one of his old listings and redo it. But it gave him that motivation that he needed to have a new listing to go and put it onto YouTube. And he created this following. And from that following, people were watching his video and going, hey, I actually like that. I'd like to view it. And they knew his details. They knew who he was. They knew his authentic self. When they met him, they just felt at home. And it actually helped with that first 30 seconds of the video. But more importantly, it helped with the first 45 seconds. When a buyer walks into a house, we know that within 45 seconds, they know whether they're going to buy it or not. And ultimately, what you've done is you've actually just energized all of that. Now, one thing on YouTube, it's not always about property tours. What you can also talk about on YouTube are things like tutorials. Tutorials on, well, hey, we're going into summer, we're going into winter, what to do with your garden, if that's in effect. Maybe it's something where you interview a particular, whether it's a builder, plumber, electrician, a candlestick maker, something on a particular property that has been something common that you've actually seen. Hey, when it hits summertime, your swimming pool turns green. I'm actually standing with Jim from Jim's Pools, and he's got a great tip that you can use. See, these little tutorials that you actually share really gives another level of engagement. You can also do things on the how-tos, how to look after certain things in a particular property. You see, all of these type of informative type of videos really starts to get people's interest. People love to learn. And when you're giving them information on an authentic nature, they will continue to watch what you're learning. If you're not teaching anything, ultimately, it means that you're trying to sell something. And we just love salesmen. Nope. So we need to make sure that we're actually teaching our audience. The more you teach your audience, the more that they will remain engaged. And the more that they remain engaged, it means that the algorithms are going to say, hey, I want to share this with more people that see these particular videos. So that is YouTube for you. And you will see also those shorts, they come into it, and make sure that you've got those timings. Now, something that's new for me is TikTok. And I have to be 100% honest. The first time that I posted a TikTok video, I thought it was absolutely amazing until I read the comments. And my son said to me, Dad, if you're going to post videos like that, expect comments like that. You see, the audience in TikTok wasn't at the audience level that I thought I was speaking to. And the comments that came back were harsh, they were negative, they actually almost broke me. And I just went, I cannot believe this. But what I found is if you're going to be doing something on TikTok, don't read the comments, because a lot of times that those comments can actually break you. Now, I remember I posted 2 videos. The first video, I got so many negative comments, I didn't post again for 8 months. I got to the point where I said never again. I then came back and I thought, right, I've got the courage. I will post on TikTok again. But I fell into that same trap again. I was actually trying to create something that was perfect, something that had this almost the cinematical appearance to it. My audience went, who's this dude? This guy's talking the biggest load of rubbish. One of the comments was blah, 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 blah. And that was me. That was me. I was done for TikTok. I learned the hard way. So I have that little internal fear. So one thing that I got to realize is TikTok is something that needs to be raw. It needs to be something that really has, even when I talk about being authentic, authentic is good, but you got to be raw authentic. I can be authentic and dress and speak and have something I want to say, and that's very authentic from my nature, but just have something where you're doing it, where if you're walking and you trip, you leave it on. You actually just say, oh my gosh, I tripped. Oh, it's a great stone, and talk about the stone and then carry on. Not to say it's on a whimsical or a comical way or a slapstick way, but it's got to be a raw, authentic, something where you just get up and go, you know what, I want to talk about this. And this is what's great. And away you go ahead and do it. If you try and do it polished like what I was doing, I got slammed. And that was really not what I wanted. One of the things is, and this, I did a lot of deep research, TikTok's audience concentration level is even shorter than YouTube. You see, YouTube, you've got probably the first 30 seconds that you've got to get them into it. Where TikTok, it actually stated that you have between 2 and 5 seconds to get that engagement for them to go, hey, wait, I like that, and carry on watching. They're not interested in something where, hey, and welcome, this is going to be a great presentation, because that's when somebody goes, blah, 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 at the bottom of the comments. You've got to do something that has the impact right from the get-go. Now, that can be something of a bit of a challenge, because we like perfection, especially when we get more mature in our age, and we don't like to show off our raw authenticity. But that's what TikTok is looking at. Once you get into there and you've got those followers, you will start to grow and you'll start to actually get it to that next level. What I also found with TikTok is whatever you get engagement on, that becomes your niche. That becomes what you need to continue. And for whatever reason, that's what people then start to associate you on. Now, this is my personal experience. I am not any form of fundi. I am not some form of master when it comes to TikTok. I shared with you my experience, which is an absolute level of fear when it comes to TikTok. I still have that fear to this particular day, but it does have its place to actually go ahead and get those level of engagements that'll start to spark and grow your particular business. Now, it's all very well that we now had a look at Meta, and I've just given you some key highlights, YouTube as one of them with a couple of highlights, and TikTok, the one that makes me fear, having those particular ones. But a question that actually came through to me, and it was a question that actually, in fact, I asked to see if I could get an answer. Should I pick one? Should I actually use the platforms together? What happens if I post something on Instagram? Should I also post it on LinkedIn? Should I post it on YouTube? What happens if everybody sees it? And there was actually a very, very strong answer that came back to me when I spoke to my client that actually does the YouTube. And he went, Stuart, here's the truth of it. You see, on social media, let's talk about the Meta platform, when you see a post and you think, oh, that was amazing, you actually have the opportunity while it's on your screen to like, to share, and to comment. Once you scroll and it does a refresh, you cannot find it again. It just disappears. Why? Because there's so much content coming out on an ongoing basis. Now, it doesn't work like that on YouTube because you could actually search for it on YouTube. But when it comes to your actual Meta platform, whether it is Instagram and Facebook, the simple answer was post it on both. If you're going to be posting reels or shorts or anything of that, post it on both. Why? It's two different audiences. And ultimately, what happens if somebody sees it on Facebook and they like it, the chances are they're not going to find it again on Facebook. But if they go to Instagram, it actually increases the chances of them seeing it again because they're linked. So the simple answer is you start cross-posting it. But it was a great little tip that was shared to me. Don't post it all at the same time, because if you're posting at the same time, it means I'm only on one platform. I will spend an hour on Facebook and then I have an hour's lunch. Then I think about 10 minutes of work and then I'm going to go back onto social media, the normal way that social media works. And by the time I go onto Instagram or something else, well, I can't find it because it hasn't got that level of engagement. The actual tip that you shared with me is actually stagger the actual post. So for instance, you could do an Instagram post at 9 a.m. if that's the engagement level. Do a Facebook post, the same post at 10 a.m. Maybe you're actually going to do it on a WhatsApp, your status at 11 a.m. Maybe you're actually going to post something on YouTube at 12. And then maybe you'll go and do something on TikTok and you want to break the ice. You'll do it at 1 o'clock when all the people that give you the comments are still at school, but we'll leave that for a different conversation. But you can then post them at separate times, separate days. And he said one of the key things, each platform does have a peak hour and day. So it's always good to do a little bit of research to find out which platform works best at which time. Some works best in the morning, some at lunchtime, some in the evening, some on the weekends, some it's a specific day of the week. Make sure that you identify all of those, because when you start identifying those, you'll know when you can actually schedule it. And don't fall into the trap of sitting there at 10 o'clock saying, I'm ready, click share. Use a tool to help you. There are so many tools that you can actually schedule of your particular posts. If you're using a tool, and I'm just jumping it out there, like Canva, if you go into their pro version, you can actually create your particular posts, whether they're videos, whether they're actual single posts, and you can actually schedule them on platforms that you've connected to at a specific time. So it can do it for you. So you don't have to spend the week. For myself, I always spent Sunday afternoon, about 2 hours. I would actually create all the posts, the videos, etc., that I'd accumulated over the week. I'd put them into my little library. And on a Sunday, I would then schedule them out if it's something for the week, or sometimes it was even 2 weeks. And by doing that, I could then focus on my business. You see, social media, as much as I've said, it is a platform for you to grow. It's also a platform that can prevent you from growing. And that's if you're spending time on the social aspect of it, seeing the negative news, getting fixated with the small kitty cat that happens to be singing the latest Michael Jackson rendition of It's Bad. You are going to go down that rabbit hole and it's going to burn away your time. Make sure that you time block and allocate all of it. And there were these little quotes that I'm actually going to read these quotes through to you because I actually have them listed here that I actually thought these are absolutely fantastic quotes that I'd actually pulled up. And the first quote that I want to share, clarity over cleverness. And that basically led to it's simple content that wins. So clarity over cleverness. Don't try and overcomplicate it. That's why we want to keep it raw and authentic. The second one, consistency builds compounding visibility. You see, not every single one of your posts is going to go viral. You will do 100 posts and get 2-3 views. Don't worry about the views. Just worry about that you've done it. One person has viewed it. Just like when I did that show day, I only needed one person to see my video and come into the property and put through an offer. So consistency builds a compounding visibility that you'll actually do. And the third one, and this is one where I want each and every one of you to cross over to. Because when I did it for the very first time, trust me, my stomach was like butterflies. I was so nervous. My mouth was so dry. I didn't know if it had any form of engagement. I even deleted the first ones. But this particular quote, your face builds trust faster than your logo. Your face will build trust faster than your logo. And so too often I've seen videos and they've got a little logo in the top right corner. Why not just do an intro with your face? The clients are going to meet you anyway, so why not give them a formal introduction through one of your posts? So really, to get all this together, don't feel intimidated about standing in front of a camera. The only difference is you're standing in front of an object that, if you think about it, could just be someone that you're talking to. Just like what I'm doing now. I'm just talking to one person. However, this is going to get translated to multiple people that I don't even have to worry about. I don't have to think about it. In the moment, I'm actually just talking to a little white light that happens to be on my camera. So your face builds trust much, much faster than a logo. So just bear that in mind. And I want to share this as a final thought in this. Taking the courage to go out and present yourself on any form of social media is such an important part of your business. You see, as an entrepreneur in the real estate space, it's all about building relationships. You want to build as many relationships as possible. You want people to know you on the authentic level. You don't see me walking around with a wig because my hair's always perfect every single day. But make sure that people see your authentic self. So when they meet you in person, they can carry on the conversation. And that was one of the greatest lessons that I've uncovered in my journey of going through social media. When I talk my authentic self and I meet somebody, the conversation carries on. And when people speak to me, there's not, oh, man, you're much taller. Oh, wow, you sound different. They just carry on the conversation as if it has already started 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months ago from when I did that particular recording. It's that authentic conversation that you can actually have that people will trust you, people will get to know you, and people will want to do business with you. So that is my elite mastermind going through social media. I wanted to give you at a very high level. Hopefully there's a couple of tips, a couple of pointers that can help you in your particular journey, in your particular business. Remember, don't fear it. Use your face to actually build your particular brand, because you don't walk up to a client with a piece of paper and a logo and say, how are you doing? You're yourself. So that's Elite Masterminds. I cannot wait to do another session with you where we'll talk about a new topic, something different to help you in your particular business. So from myself, Stuart, I want to wish you a fantastic Elite Day further.